Hey guys, so in this video I'm going to talk you through what is a primary care network, what does a primary care network manager do, and also provide kind of a week in the life of a primary care network manager, aka myself and my team, and just talk you through some like real life activities that we have been up to this week. My name is Tara Humphrey, I am a PCN manager, and this channel is dedicated to PCN management, whether you are a PCN administrator, manager, service operations manager, clinical director. This channel is here to help. So before I get started, I just want to kind of acknowledge my casual appearance. I don't usually wear a hoodie to work, but it's a Friday and all the meetings I have are quite low key and casual. So let's get started. What is a primary care network? So the easiest way I describe a network to my friends, people that work outside of a network, it's a group of practices and organisations coming together to deliver primary care services at scale. So typically a practice would deliver their services to their patient list size. Their patient list size might be 5,000 or 10,000, or a big practice might be 15,000. In a primary care network, it's a group of practices coming together. On average, the population covers from 30 to 50,000, but there obviously are some exceptions. You've got smaller networks and you've got super duper big networks. I spoke to a super partnership, which is also a primary care network, and they support over 100,000 patients. So kind of the first thing you need to understand, it is a group of organisations coming together to deliver primary care services at scale, and that at scale means more than just their immediate practice. It is across multiple practices and a wider footprint. And in order to deliver those services, most networks have a shared workforce, which we call the PCN team or the ARRS team. ARS, that stands for the Additional Role Reimbursement Scheme. And the PCN team are funded using the Additional Role Reimbursement Scheme. So that is a primary care network. Why do you need a primary care network manager? Most networks, not all networks, value having somebody to lead, manage, coordinate, administer the various services that stretch across the network. Most healthcare organisations will have a management team within their organisation to manage HR. Most healthcare organisations, business organisations, will have support for human resources, for recruitment, for premises, for contract management, for financial management, for service development. In a primary care network, that skill and expertise is also required. And the added dimension of that is that it's not one manager working outside of one facility or even one facility that's got branches. A primary care network is made up of individual organisations, individual GP practices mostly. They've got their own manager, their own GP partners, their own workforce. The challenge of the primary care network is how do we coordinate the services of the PCN across multiple independent organisations. So we need a management team to support that. All networks have a clinical director, but typically that clinical director doesn't have the experience or the time to lead and manage clinical services across multiple organisations. So I had a pre-clinical strategy meeting, and that meeting was organised by the Integrated Care Board, who have commissioned the National Association of Primary Care to help facilitate some discussion. So this pre-meeting was facilitated by the NAPC, and they wanted to understand what was happening in regards to our premises, what strategy did we have in place for our population health, and what strategy did we have for health inequalities? What was our plan? So in that meeting, I attended, my colleague Jade attended, who kind of acts as a care coordinator within the network, and also two co-clinical directors. So we just went through the health population profile of our network, and we also talked about like the changing makeup of the town and how lots of fast food outlets were popping up and how that would have an impact on our population moving forwards. We talked about our ambitions for recruitment, and because it's in an area that's quite hard to recruit to, we are heavily reliant on managed services to support our services, and they naturally work remotely because it's so hard to recruit. We're heavily reliant on providers parachuting in and working remotely. So the premises is a challenge, but it's not a barrier to recruitment. The locality is a barrier to recruitment. We were also asked how we integrate with other services and are we building our integrated neighbourhood team? We are not. We're not yet. We talked about kind of a growing need for managing housing inquiries and how we're using our social prescribing link workers to support them. We also talked about mental health and how our current mental health practitioner is at capacity and we're trying to recruit, but it's challenging. And what was kind of reflected back to us, and one of the things we did say is that we don't see it as like, what is our population health strategy? What is our health inequality strategy? We believe that if we try to maximise the impact and investment fund targets and we work to achieve the DES, and practices do their usual, and practices are managing their day-to-day work, we will cover all of those areas. We don't need separate work streams necessarily. We don't see it as separate, we just see it all as one. And they said, it's quite refreshing. So we just feel like we know what we're doing, we do have a plan, we do have a strategy, and we just consider it the business plan of the PCN. It was a really, really good meeting. Sometimes meetings like that are a little bit like, but it was 30 minutes, it was really quick. And what was really good is everybody contributed to that meeting. It was a 30-minute meeting, so it was nice and quick. Sometimes you get invited to these meetings or you feel like you've got to go to these meetings and they're a waste of time. It was not a waste of time. Everybody contributed. I felt like we were on the same page. I feel like it was affirmation, like we're a really good team, and actually we do have a strategy, we do know what we're doing. So that was really helpful. And then we stayed on after the call and we're just talking about vaccinations, our provision for bank holiday, and I just asked some clarifying questions in regards to updating the hypertension register. So that was our clinical strategy meeting, which then led into my direct team of Jade and Leah just jumping on a call. We were looking at the Ardens data and just looking through the impact and investment fund indicators, and just it was quite easy to see that there were some gaps. We know that there's some work happening in X, Y and Z. We just need to, I think there's a coding issue there. So that was a really, really quick, helpful huddle meeting. And then with one of our networks, we've got a shared inbox. So I was just making sure Leah had things covered, and we were just identifying it for another colleague who's on leave. So making sure Ellen doesn't come back to lots of unanswered emails. So we just want to make sure we're all on top of that. And that was really good. We had a board meeting which took place and we created a slide deck. It's a very light slide deck, but that's becoming our framework for helping to present the information for people that are not as close to the PCN as we are, and to kind of showcase this is the work that happens behind the scenes. I have created a blog which details what that PowerPoint deck includes, so take a look. Another area of work that we've been involved in is what I would call clinical services development, where in one of our networks the focus is on pharmacy and just reviewing the roles and responsibilities, who is doing what, how can we improve the service. We have employed a new advanced clinical practitioner who is amazing, and my job as the manager is to just be like, what do you need? What do you need to be able to make our vision a reality? They needed a bit more time, so we needed to rejig the rotors. We've got some meetings coming up and just filling him in on the culture of the network, where we are with the network, and then we also want to create a strategy for how we're going to approach the impact and investment fund, because we have a lot of pharmacists, so we just want to make sure that we have got a plan. One of the roles of the PCN manager is to make sure the network is working to a plan or a strategy, and not just to have everybody going off and doing things, because inevitably they're not going off and doing things, nobody's doing anything. So my role in that is that we do have a vision. I've got a bit of information and legacy information to help inform the clinical strategy moving forward. And then I was just like, what do you need? Let me know what you need from me to be able to make this work. And then in another PCN, their focus is frailty and how we can improve that provision. So those meetings took up a chunk of time. There's a preparation for the meeting, then we are in the meeting, and then there's some actions and things that need to be followed up afterwards. So sometimes those kind of meetings and pieces of work can take quite a long time. And then to build on that, we did have a couple of conversations in our team and also in a primary care network. So that leads on to a section I've titled Meeting Management. We are always asking, do we still need to go to this meeting? What is the purpose of this meeting? What information do I need for this meeting? And can I just cancel it? Do I need to go? And I think you have to be in this role. If you do not constantly ask yourself those questions, you will spend all of your time in meetings and half of them will be a waste of time. One of our clients who's got a deputy PCN manager, Callum, we're like on the phone, it's like, do you still need to go to this meeting? We know that we meet with the network on X day, so maybe we could cancel it. And they really appreciate that. And I quote, the clinical director said, I love seeing you guys, I really do, but I think we need to protect our time when I said we were going to cancel one of the meetings. So we just want to make sure that we're productive, we're efficient, and sometimes a phone call, a quick WhatsApp message can replace a meeting, hands down. Next area is around financial management. So at THC, we've just hired a finance lead. I personally love doing the finances. I do find it time consuming and I don't think it's the best use of my time. So one of the networks that we're managing needs like an audit done. I'm not an accountant, so we have hired a financial expert to come in and deliver that audit. They're also going to be providing some day-to-day administration moving forward. So if you're in a network and you've got a big network, some of these networks have got over £1 million worth of income and resources available to them, you may need to look at your skill set and really honestly appraise, is this my bag? And if not, just because you can do it, it may take somebody who is a specialist or a whiz at that to do it in half the time and do a better job. So at THC, we have hired a finance lead, which I'm very, very excited about. So we've been getting her on board. That doesn't mean I'm not involved in the finances, and I have been on the phone to a community provider, just trying to work out an invoice related to the mental health practitioner, and just stop the emails, pick up the phone, get it sorted, and that's what I'm doing. So I'm still involved in some of the stuff, but when it comes to like profit lost, dividends back out to practices and things like that, we now have expertise to do that. And then in regards to day-to-day administration, we use the project management tool Asana. I absolutely love it. I spoke to one network this week and they use Trello. They're probably very similar. I think they use Trello for free. We pay for Asana. I love Asana, but we also use lots of Excel spreadsheets. And we were having a team meeting at THC and I was like, is this working? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, I don't think it is. They're like, no, it's not. I was like, why didn't you say? Like, sometimes you need to ask. We often ask ourselves in the team, what do we need to stop doing, start doing, and continue doing? And we agreed that we needed to stop using Excel, continue with Asana and only use Asana, because I think we were duplicating activity. So my question to you, when it comes to your processes, when it comes to how you lead and manage the network, what can you start doing? So anything differently you could do from listening to this video or reading our blogs, anything you should just stop doing, and anything that actually is working and just affirm, we're going to continue doing this. This is working really well. So we always have that reflection. And this week we are ditching Excel and going all in on Asana to help us manage our workload. If you want an example of how we use Asana, just let me know. I could talk about it all day. And that is a whistle-stop tour of what we've been up to during the week. So if you're very new in post and you're thinking, what am I going to be doing? You're likely going to be doing a lot of the stuff that I've just been talking about. There was no real special projects in there. DES, Impact and Investment Fund Review, Service Development. Jade had 2 interviews for care coordinators and is going to offer them within one of our networks. Lots of meetings, lots of communication. And just to highlight, at the beginning of this video, I said I was in casual attire. It's a Friday. Fridays are my admin days. I hope this helps, and please check out our Diary of a PCN Manager blog below.